How often do we form entire judgments and stories about people without ever actually knowing the full picture, without ever having context for their behavior? And so here's my challenge to you. Is there anyone who just triggers the hell out of you? Like, I don't know, Elon Musk or Donald Trump, Puff Daddy, Kanye West, Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Anyone like that? Because for some people, just hearing their name stirs up really intense emotions. They get angry, frustrated, disgusted. You might even feel like you just have to say something about that person because, in your mind, staying silent means you're complicit in their actions. And so we'll quickly justify our need to react by saying stuff like, this person is ruining the world, or this person is out there manipulating people, or this person needs to be called out. And if you ask around, almost everybody has projected villain status onto somebody in the news or a celebrity or maybe an athlete. And this is somebody who they just think is inherently a bad person. And that's where I want to pause for just a second because here's a question that's worth pondering. Why do these people have so much power over our emotions? Why are they so triggering? Why do they take up so much real estate in our minds and in our conversations? Because from a ground level perspective, the answer might be quite obvious. They're terrible people. They deserve it because they behave in the way that they behave. If they would just change their ways, if they would just be more compassionate, more empathetic, smarter, wiser, then of course we wouldn't feel that way. Now, again, this is the ground level perspective. And this video series is called the spiritual perspective, which is that broader 30,000 foot view perspective. And so, from the spiritual perspective, the truth is a little more nuanced. Before I go any further, I want to clarify something. I'm not suggesting that difficult people don't exist. I'm not saying that public figures never make decisions that harm other people. I'm not saying that you should force yourself to agree with anyone who genuinely upsets you. Okay? What I am suggesting with this spiritual perspective is that there's something deeper happening beneath the surface of our emotional reactions. Now, let's zoom out and let's admit that it's easy to judge people, right? It's really easy to put them in these neat little categories in our head. This person's evil. That person is corrupt. This person is dangerous. That person's a narcissist. And once we do that, we start making our little assumptions. If you support this person, you must be a bad person too. Oh, you're defending them? If you defend them, you must be a part of the problem as well. You don't speak out against that person enough, so you're complicit in their actions. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When you do something annoying, and I'm talking about you watching this, when you do something that frustrates or offends somebody else, do you think of yourself as a bad person? Now you're like, hold on, I don't do anything annoying to people. I'm not like Elon Musk. I'm no Donald Trump. Really? You don't do anything that annoys anyone, ever. Not at home, not at work, not at church, nothing. Well, let's assume that you did. I know I do. And when it happens, you probably think to yourself, I mean, come on, I'm just doing the best I can, right? I had a reason for doing what I did, or for saying what I said, or for behaving how I behaved. If they knew the full context, they would understand. You never thought that before? Well, guess what? Every single person on this planet, including the ones you despise, has that same justification in their mind, right? Elon Musk wakes up every morning believing that he's doing his best under the circumstances. And so does Donald Trump, and so does Ye, and so do you, and so do I. And if that's true, then we have to ask, what is actually triggering us about this person's behavior? This person who we don't even really know personally, mind you. Because from a spiritual perspective, our reactivity to them actually says more about us. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. What if the people who trigger us are actually reflecting something very important back to us? What if our reaction to them isn't really about them at all? What if it says more about something that's unresolved within ourselves? Think about it. What specifically bothers you about these public figures? Is it their arrogance? Is it their selfishness? Is it their recklessness? What if deep down, the real discomfort comes from the fact that we all have those tendencies to some degree? Now, maybe we don't express them in the same way. Maybe we don't have the same level of influence. Maybe our actions aren't broadcast to millions of people. But if we're really, really honest, we all have moments where we're self-centered, where we are thoughtless, where we're rude, where we're impatient. And I know, again, it's hard to admit, right? It's easier to say, well, I'm nothing like them. I'm a good person. But here's the thing. Don't good people still make mistakes? Don't good people still hold biases? Don't good people still operate out of fear, insecurities, and ignorance? And when we see extreme versions of these qualities in other people, it has a tendency to trigger us, not because they're different from us, but because they're too familiar. That's what makes this spiritual perspective different. It's about recognizing our own humanity within that other person's behavior. And that's what allows us to become more compassionate. That's what allows us to become more empathetic. And that's what allows us to stay rooted in the present moment. So what does that mean from here? Do we just ignore everything and act like everybody's fine? No, but we can choose how we want to respond. We can let our triggers consume us, or we can use them as tools to become more self-aware. Take somebody like Elon Musk as an example. It's so easy to say, oh, Elon Musk, he's just some rich guy who had a privileged start. All he does is take over companies and gets all these government contracts. As if any rich person would have taken the same risks and made the same choices. But you know what's harder? You know what takes more character? It's recognizing that despite all of those bad things, he also displays an incredible amount of resilience. Remember, he risks his entire fortune when SpaceX was on the verge of collapse. And he reinvested everything to keep Tesla afloat. And he dreams at a scale that most people wouldn't even dare to imagine. Now, again, you don't have to like Elon Musk to acknowledge that. You don't have to agree with him to recognize some of his more courageous qualities, right? Determination, risk-taking, big picture thinking. These are all actually quite admirable in anybody. And maybe Elon Musk is too big of a jump for you. I get it. That's fine. So let's start small. Is there someone in your daily life that just really gets under your skin? Because if someone you don't even know personally gets under your skin, then there's definitely a good chance that somebody in your actual life is getting under your skin as well. It could be a coworker, a family member, a neighbor. And the opportunity here is, can you practice seeing the best in that person? Can you shift your focus away from what bothers you to what's worthy of appreciation? Because from the spiritual perspective, our attention is like water. Whatever we focus our attention on, that's what's going to grow. So if we focus our attention on the negative aspects of that person, everything that's wrong with that person, then it's like we're watering the weeds of that person, and that's what's going to grow. But if we focus on the good within that person, then it's like we're watering the flowers, and that's what's going to grow. That's how we can upgrade our relationship with pretty much anyone, simply by choosing what we are going to focus on. I'll share a quick little story. So I had this meditation student once who worked as a casting director in Los Angeles, and she'd been in the industry for years. There was this one other casting director that she just never liked. And after she started meditating, a few weeks later, she happened to run into that other casting director at an industry event. for the first time, she decided to give this other woman the benefit of the doubt. And they talked. She realized she had no idea why she originally started disliking this person in the first place. Evidently, it was based on secondhand gossip, right? Stories that she had heard about the woman from other people, and she just absorbed all of that over time. And come to find out, she actually liked the woman. And now they're friends and collaborators. How often do we do that? How often do we form entire judgments and these stories about people without ever actually knowing the full picture, without ever having context for their behavior? And so here's my challenge to you. Try to see if you can hold multiple truths in your awareness at the same time. Yes, this person doesn't have a great reputation, but I'm going to give them a blank slate and just see what happens. Can you recognize the flaws in that person without demonizing them? Can you shift from any kind of judgment you may have to at least a willingness to understand? Because that's what it means to be spiritual. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect in this. We all slip up from time to time, but we ideally want that to be our North Star. We want to water the flowers and adopt the understanding that this other person who we may despise on some level is just like us. They're just having a different experience. And while we'd like to think that we would behave differently if we were in their shoes and we had their exact same upbringing and their exact same trauma and their exact same understanding of the world, I'm not so sure. Maybe we would, but probably we'd be doing the exact same thing that they were doing, if not worse. What do you think? Do any aspects of this perspective resonate with you? If so, let me know in the comments. And don't forget, we release a new spiritual perspective video every Monday. If you're interested in going deeper, you can check out my books on meditation, happiness, and minimalism, or you can join my coaching program where we explore these concepts in real life. Finally, if you want, you can book a one-on-one session directly with me. All the details are in the description. Otherwise, I will see you next Monday for the next spiritual perspective. Thank you so much for watching. Just FYI, we post a new video almost every day, so make sure you comment and subscribe below so you don't miss out on anything. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you're really going to love this one as well. And if you ever want to see a playlist of all of my podcasts or all of the plot twists or any other category of videos, you can find links to those in the description below.